The story of Genesis chapter 20. Faith, deception, and divine protection. Genesis chapter 20 is a compelling narrative that continues the story of Abraham and Sarah, exploring themes of faith, deception, and divine intervention. In this chapter, Abraham travels to Gerar, where he again presents Sarah as his sister to protect himself, leading to a complex interaction with King Abimelech. This chapter highlights the challenges of living faithfully, the consequences of deception, and the unwavering protection of God over his promises. By examining these events, readers gain valuable insights into the nature of trust, the importance of integrity, and the profound ways in which God safeguards his covenant with his people. The chapter begins with Abraham moving to the region of Gerar, where he again fears for his safety due to Sarah's beauty, Genesis 21. In an attempt to protect himself, Abraham repeats his earlier tactic of presenting Sarah as his sister rather than his wife. This deception is not just a personal strategy, but reflects the recurring tension between Abraham's fear and his faith in God's promise. Abraham's decision to lie reveals the complexity of his character. While he is a man of great faith, he is also susceptible to fear and doubt. Scholars like Brueggemann suggest that Abraham's actions demonstrate the human struggle to fully trust in God's protection, even for someone as revered as Abraham. King Abimelech of Gerar, unaware of the true relationship between Abraham and Sarah, takes Sarah into his household, believing her to be Abraham's sister, Genesis 22. This act sets the stage for a confrontation between human deception and divine truth. Abimelech's actions, though based on Abraham's falsehood, are innocent from a moral standpoint. He is portrayed as a king who, despite his lack of knowledge, acts honorably by returning Sarah to Abraham without any wrongdoing on his part, Genesis 20, 6-7. This scenario raises important questions about the nature of truth and the consequences of deceit, even when the intentions behind the deception are not malicious. God intervenes in this situation by appearing to Abimelech in a dream, revealing the truth about Sarah's identity, Genesis 20, 3-7. God warns Abimelech that he is about to sin by taking another man's wife, highlighting the moral imperative to respect the sanctity of marriage. This divine intervention underscores God's protective role over his covenant with Abraham and Sarah. By preventing Abimelech from committing adultery, God ensures the preservation of his promise that Abraham will be the father of many nations through Sarah. Scholars like Terence E. Fretham emphasize that God's intervention serves as a reminder of his active involvement in safeguarding his people's faith and integrity. Abimelech's response to God's revelation is one of immediate repentance and humility. He confronts Abraham, questioning why he has brought such trouble upon his household and the kingdom, Genesis 20, 10-11. Abraham explains that Sarah is indeed his half-sister, sharing the same father but a different mother, Genesis 20, 12. This revelation, while clarifying the truth, does not absolve Abraham of the deceit. Instead, it highlights the complexity of his situation, balancing his fear for his life with his responsibility to protect Sarah. Abraham's explanation also sheds light on the cultural and familial dynamics of the time, where marriages within extended family members were not uncommon, though they later became less acceptable. Abimelech's actions following God's command reflect his righteousness and integrity. He returns Sarah to Abraham, accompanied by gifts of livestock, servants, and land, as a gesture of goodwill and compensation for the distress caused, Genesis 20:14. Abimelech also affirms his innocence, asserting that he never approached Sarah with the intention of dishonoring her or his household, Genesis 20:15. This resolution emphasizes the importance of restitution and reconciliation in the face of deception and conflict. It serves as a model for resolving disputes and restoring trust within relationships, even when misunderstandings or mistakes occur. God's further instructions to Abimelech reinforce the importance of keeping his promises and protecting the sanctity of marriage, Genesis 20:17-18. Abimelech's fear of reproach from the people leads him to take additional steps to ensure his household remains pure by sending Abraham away with Sarah and protecting them from harm, Genesis 20:17-18. This act of separation not only preserves the honor of Abimelech's household, but also reaffirms God's commitment to his covenant with Abraham and Sarah. Scholars like John Walton argue that this separation underscores the necessity of maintaining distinct and honorable relationships within a community, aligning personal actions with divine expectations. The narrative of Genesis chapter 20 also highlights the recurring theme of God's faithfulness to his promises, despite human failings. Abraham's fear and subsequent deception do not thwart God's plans. Instead, God's intervention ensures that his covenant remains intact. Sarah, though taken into Abimelech's household, is returned unharmed, and Abraham is protected from any potential fallout of the deceit. This assurance of divine protection reinforces the reliability of God's promises and his ability to fulfill them regardless of human imperfections. Scholars like N.T. Wright emphasizes that this chapter illustrates the dynamic relationship between divine sovereignty and human agency, where God's purposes prevail even when humans falter. The chapter underscores the importance of honesty and integrity in relationships. Abraham's repeated deceptions about Sarah's identity create unnecessary complications and jeopardize the trust between him and Abimelech. While Abraham's intentions may have been to protect himself, his actions ultimately complicate the situation and require divine intervention to resolve. This serves as a cautionary tale about the potential consequences of deceit, even when it stems from fear or self-preservation. The narrative encourages believers to prioritize honesty and trust in God's provision over personal fears and insecurities. Genesis chapter 20 explores the role of women in these narratives. Sarah, as Abraham's wife and half-sister, plays a crucial role in the unfolding events. Her presence and beauty prompt Abraham's initial deception, highlighting the societal pressures and personal fears that influence behavior. While the narrative primarily focuses on Abraham's actions, Sarah's experiences also reflect the vulnerabilities and challenges faced by women in these patriarchal settings. Scholars like Phyllis Tribal discuss how Sarah's portrayal in these chapters reveals the intersection of gender, power, and faith in the patriarchal context of the Bible. The chapter also foreshadows future events and developments in the Abrahamic covenant. Despite the temporary setback caused by Abraham's deception, God reaffirms his promise that Abraham will be the father of many nations through Sarah. This reaffirmation occurs later in the narrative, reinforcing the enduring nature of God's covenant despite human failures. It highlights the unbreakable nature of God's promises and his commitment to fulfilling them through Abraham and his descendants. This assurance serves as a source of hope and encouragement for believers, illustrating that God's plans are steadfast and will prevail despite human shortcomings. Genesis chapter 20 is a rich and multifaceted narrative that delves into themes of faith, deception, and divine protection. Through the story of Abraham and Sarah in Gerar, readers are invited to reflect on the complexities of human behavior, the importance of integrity, and the unwavering faithfulness of God. Abraham's actions, though flawed, do not deter God from fulfilling his promises, demonstrating the profound interplay between human agency and divine sovereignty. The chapter serves as a powerful reminder of the need to trust in God's protection, uphold honesty in relationships, and rely on divine intervention in times of uncertainty. Supported by biblical teachings and scholarly interpretations, Genesis chapter 20 offers valuable lessons for believers striving to live faithfully amidst the challenges of life.